way to start off the 5th year of To the Point. Okay. I can't believe it. This is an impromptu episode, ladies and gentlemen. So we're just going to get right into it. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are locked in on To the Point. And you guys can find us Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, hopefully where you're watching us. Click subscribe, click like. We're waiting for 750 and giving away that lovely sweater. I don't have time to show it because I want to get right into this. And our fantastic guests, especially my man right there, all the way from the East Coast, the coach, Tim Roache. How you doing today, brother? Question of
It was interesting. It was interesting last night. That's all that I'll say.
Yeah, an interesting night. And let's get right into it. We saw against that game against the Lakers in the fourth quarter the discrepancy on the free throws, which was 18 for 23 as opposed for the Lakers, as opposed to 1 for 2 for the Raptors, which really changed the game, right? And kept the Lakers in. And the end result is the end result. But, however, you and I, as former coaches, saw Darko Rajakovic go off in his press conference. I would have went worse. I give that guy credit for not cursing. But you, as a former coach, do you agree and stand with what he said at the end of the game?
Ding, 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 ding. 100%. You know, Darko seems like a pretty nice guy. I get my own complaints about him and some of the rotations, some of the things that he does. But last night, I can proudly say that is my coach of my Toronto Raptors. The way that he stood up his players, the way that he stood up for the future of this franchise and Scotty Barnes. You know, if you're a player in that locker room, if you play for the Toronto Raptors, after your coach saying what he did, standing up for you, putting up with all the BS that happened in the game, you might want to go run through a wall for him after that. That was brilliant, and I'm so glad that he did it. I've coached before. You can get frustrated, as you have too. You've coached before. There are times you can get irritated on the bench. And look, I have many friends who are referees. It is a tough job at times to be a ref and to manage the game and manage the pace and personalities and stuff like that. But last night, that was one of the worst jobs I have seen in the fourth quarter. I've been watching basketball for a good 20, 25 years, pretty consistently. And no excuse for that last night.
This, in my 5th decade of playing, studying, coaching, and just enjoying the game, I have not seen an atrocity like this, right? And to me, I have to agree with Darko 100% because what was his exact quote? This is a crap. Okay? There's no question about it. It's BS, and I love how he stepped up, and he doesn't care. He could start a GoFundMe, and I'll put some money in there to help pay for that fine. Because
they have.
Somebody had to say it, right? It's been a long time coming where we've seen this, especially with, what's his name, Ben Taylor, always going against the Raptors. And every time LeBron has a big game, right, he's mainly the one reffing over the last couple of years, right? So it's kind of like a perfect storm that obviously this would happen. I was expecting it, right? But I didn't expect it to this extent. And I'm glad that he pointed it out, right? He showed that that's exactly what it is. I've been saying this for so many years, and a lot of people have not believed me that there is a bias against the Raptors, right? And I think we clearly seen this in the fourth quarter. Now, Coach, speaking of the fourth quarter, specifically, what did you see that left a bad taste in your mouth?
Well, this part I'm going to say was happening a little bit throughout the game, but I think it did come up in the fourth quarter as well. D'Angelo Russell was chirping all night long at Schroeder. He gave him a push. Refs are right there, no call. He was chirping at RJ Barrett. He grabbed him in the man spot. There's a video of it. What are you doing? No wonder RJ was chirping at him and stuff like that. No calls at all for him. That was number one that I saw through the game. Some of the big ones that I noticed was the Austin Reeves play at foul line. And they said that Thad had fouled him. But you watch the video, Austin Reeves hooks his arm, and there's marginal contact by Thad. But then Reeves sells it, and when he sells it, the ball misses, and then the refs blow the whistle. It wasn't when the shot went up. It was after the miss. So 3 to 4 seconds later, there was a foul call. And those late whistles will piss anybody off, especially coaches, for sure. I think one of the big things last night is that inconsistent whistle. So on the no calls, the light calls, or just the missed calls in general, the Raptors were on the other side of that. They never got those calls, right? Now, if there was marginal contact, foul on the Raptors. If the Lakers did it, there was no foul there. And that's what pisses people off. That's what will piss Darko off and his staff. The Emmanuel Quickly flagrant foul. Flagrant means intent. There was no intent there. He did bring his elbow through because he had to make the move. Unfortunately, Reddish was there, and I'm fine if it was a foul because it was kind of bad. Was it flagrant? Oh, come on.
There was no blood.
Yeah, so that was not a flagrant foul. That was a common foul. The RJ Barrett play towards the end in the fourth quarter, when RJ kicked it back up to Scotty, RJ was running through to set the screen. Anthony Davis hit RJ Barrett as if RJ Barrett was built like Ronnie Coleman. And for you people out there who want to know who he is, he was Mr. Olympia in the late 90s. Last time I checked, RJ Barrett, he's a big guy, but he's not Ronnie Coleman, Mr. Olympia. Anthony Davis fell down like he ran into someone who was like 350 pounds, just built muscle.
And did you see RJ clowning him?
I did not, but probably deserved it at that point, I'm sure.
After the whistle, RJ was clowning him. But yeah, go on.
Christian Wood, for a good chunk of the game, throwing his shoulder into Raptors' chest. Yeah, he got a foul, but this kept happening throughout the game. And I'm shocked they didn't do anything about that. It could have been a flagrant. Like, guy does it one time, okay, give it up. Do it a second time, and there's still nothing. It was a very frustrating fourth quarter to watch, and I get it from my bias as a Raptors fan, but when you go on Twitter or you go listen to some of the media outlets, they're like, yeah, we can see why Toronto was pissed off over that.
It's actually, speaking of the fourth quarter, I actually went play by play on pretty much everything that was a foul or could have been a foul, anything that went against the Raptors. Like, especially that late whistle for AD's flop with the Quickly behind him, and all he did was just put his hands up and touch him, and then AD fell, right? And then you got Wood for that flagrant, like, he looked around and he dropped holding his nose, right? I did not, like, come on, bro. Like, be real here. That's not a flagrant foul. Flagrant foul is if I elbow you in the throat and I have malintent. No. There was a couple possible fouls that Scotty could have got in his favor, but they were saying, oh, he wasn't in the act of shooting. Meanwhile, he clearly was. The Austin Reeves one that you mentioned where they waited. Oh my goodness, that was disgusting. I couldn't believe it.
And then there was, when Scotty went to the hoop, Max Christie was guarding him. He bumped him twice. And then again, Scotty crammed it on him and he got fouled there too. So there was 2 to 3 fouls just right there. And they didn't call it.
And that would have changed the game, right? But see, you just touched on something there. Wow, we're already getting into the major topic. Yes, the American media, I would say about 90% of what I've seen after the game was these reporters saying that, oh, it was the Raptors, they made some intentional fouls near the end of the game, so it's misconstrued. But of course, you and I both know as coaches, you have to take those intentional fouls to slow down the clock when the game is that close. When you're playing a one possession game, you have to. You have no choice, right? But the American media, and here's what I've been saying for years on this show, and this is why we started To The Point, is because the American media will not give the Toronto Raptors any credit whatsoever. It's all about the other team, the American team. Okay? They did not give the Raptors a credit. They did not give Scottie his dues, right? They downplayed, okay, maybe it might be Darko's English saying Scottie's going to be the face of the league. Well, we know maybe not, but we know he's going to be the face of the franchise. There's no question about that. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. But to me, it's absolutely bullshit as to how they treat us. And on the same token, it's to how and I've been saying this for 20 years now, how the league and the refs have been coddling and favoring any team LeBron James plays for. To me, it's disgusting. I can't watch a game where LeBron is playing for the last, I don't know, I'd say about the last 10 years, because to me, it's absolutely disgusting because he gets unfair treatment, right, by the refs. You could blow on him and it's a foul, but he can do whatever. And they'll abide to what he wants when every time he just turns up and he's like, and he starts crying. But yeah,
the league. Oh, sorry, go for it.
Okay. And I just think that's disgusting. Like, if the teams are going to play, it's a sport. Give them an even playing field. Don't make one team play uphill by favoring another team and poison them up, regardless of the factors, okay? And that's how I see it. It really, really pissed me off. And we all know I'm not a Raptors fan. I am from the city, but I am not a Raptors fan. So I'm saying this objectively. Okay? So, Coach, what are your thoughts on that with those down south of the border? Let's build a wall and keep
when Darko said, I think he's gonna be the face of the league, I loved it. And this is why.
Okay.
For one, he is trying to use that for Scottie to have the motivation, to clearly people down in the US probably don't see Scottie as much as we do. And they even said today, well, he's not Anthony Edwards. Well, he's not so-and-so. Well, he's this and he's that. So the way I saw it was, okay, they're trying to put a ceiling on your talent when they're saying you cannot be in that category of Anthony Edwards. If you want to say Anthony Edwards is better, fine. I'm not going to argue that. What I'm saying is, if I'm Scottie or if I'm his camp or his teammates, use those videos of those pundits who are trying to put a ceiling on your talent, saying like, pump the brakes on that face of the league. I heard Michael Irvin say that today, who I'm sure doesn't watch much basketball. Good football player, I know he was one time. But my point is, use it as motivation.
Yep.
Use it as motivation. Jordan did it. He would make things up. And then he's like, okay, there's my motivation. I'm just going to make something up now. I'm going to go off for 50 or 60 points. I want Scottie to use that as motivation because these people don't believe in you the way that some people do. Whether he reaches that, that's not the point. Use it as motivation. Because if you do start playing like really, really like aggressive basketball, they'll notice then. And he's been doing it this year. I'm not saying that he's not, but he's got another level to him. He's on the verge of superstardom in the next year or two. So I loved it. I'm like, there's your motivation right there. Use it. Because he heard a lot of noise last summer from our own fan base. There's more noise from the American media.
Well, it's like back in the 80s, 90s, they would cut the article out of the newspaper and put it on the bulletin board in the dressing room and make the guys read it and let it drive to them. You know what I mean? Like use that as motivation. That first year, Kobe and Powell won their championship together. Kobe hung his gold medal in Powell's right in his area, right in his locker, right,
Yeah.
to show him, right, this is what we can do. You know what I mean? The motivation should be there for the Raptors. It's just, to me, it's appalling, the way that the Raptors are getting treated. It doesn't it doesn't make any sense, because I was looking it up and there's three players. I'm gonna forget the third, but three players that have 40 blocks, 40 steals, um, 40 blocks, 40 steals, something about defense, over 40, and there's only three players, and Scotty and AD are each of them.
You know who leads the
Scotty's on
league in
that
free
level.
throw? Oh yeah, yeah. No, if he's not, he's certainly on his way to that. But do you know what team leads the league in free throw differential?
Oh, the Lakers.
The Lakers do, and it's not even close. So I laugh when they've been complaining about free throws the last few games and stuff like that. And I'm like, you're number one in free throw differential. Why isn't the last team or these teams in the bottom third complaining? But you guys are. I don't understand that.
Last time I looked up that stat, it was what, 1700, I believe.
I'm not sure the number. I just know that the Lakers are number one in free throw differential. You got
Last I saw, they had over 4,000 free throws, and the team next had about 2,000, almost three.
probably. We got Paul Jones, who's doing radio for the Raptors, complaining about this. He never does that. You got Jack and Matt on air saying how bad it is. You got Leo Routens, one of Canada's best basketball players ever, complaining about this. Like, this was really, really bad last night, the discrepancy in call. And what I said before, keep it consistent. Coaches will be fine. Like, they don't like a game where there's ticky-tack fouls all the time, but as long as it's consistent, you'll live with it. You can't be ticky-tack on one side and then call nothing on the other side. You're just asking for people to be pissed off over that. And that's why it was a terrible officiating job last night. All three, even the guy who Fred called out last year. I won't say his name, but everybody knows, I guess.
Don't put no respect on his name. But
no comment.
It's interesting that, like, it's interesting. Okay, my question now is, after what was said, it was blatant and apparent what happened in the fourth quarter. Anybody with two eyes that can see will notice it. Anybody that's not a LeBron James fan can see it. Okay. You take all the bias away. But now, with Darko calling out the referees, do you think that now possibly puts a target on the back of the Toronto Raptors for their upcoming games for the rest of the season? Because the referees have a brotherhood and they like to talk with each other.
Possibly. Definitely in the short term, I think it does. But to build on your point, because you just mentioned a good point there about putting a target on their back, Scotty's got one on him now too, to a degree. Because Darko said the face of the league. Guys now are going to come out and they're going to go extra aggressive against him now. LeVar Ball did it with Lonzo when he said he was better than Steph Curry, and Pat Bev had come out and he's like, yeah, he can't do anything. I kind of worry about that a little bit, but Scotty, he's 6'9", he in 240. I'm sure he can handle himself. There's an element to this that I love it, and there's an element that it's kind of I don't like it now. But to your point though about that target on the Raptors and the coaches, probably a little bit. I do expect more free throws against the Clippers though.
I would like to see that. but I highly doubt it. Like every time I've watched the Raptors game, ever since the championship, even during the championship run, I'm looking at the TV going, come on, that should be a foul. Come on, come on. Because I know when I refed before, like guys would give me crap. They'd be chirping at me, right? But I'd have to tell them, hey man, look, that's not a foul. I'm not calling that ticky tack stuff. Okay? I don't want you begging for a foul. I want you to earn it. Okay? If you go to earn it, if you go to earn it and you get the foul, I'm calling it right away.
Yeah.
Right?
Like when I speak to most players or refs, or I'll say players, I'll ask them like, "What kind of ref do you like?" Just keep it consistent. Like, let us play a little bit, but obviously call the things that you have to call clearly, right? Don't be this little touch foul and stuff like that. Like, just don't do that all night. You slow the game down, and it's just not fun to watch. Last night, one team got that, and the other team did not. That's what had happened. And I don't understand it. Quickly, there was a play where AD went into Scotty and quickly put his hand on AD's back. Now, how many times does that happen? Yeah, and how many times in a game does that happen and there's no call? If that's in the second quarter, do they call that? They don't, because it was the fourth quarter. They called it.
Coach, thank you. Before we get out of here, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this was impromptu. We had to go on a rant because it really grinded my gears. I was Peter Griffin, and I'm sure it did for all of you out there. Coach, do you have anything left you would like to say?
From the best basketball league in the world, I just hope that we get better reffing overall. You know, that was ridiculous what I saw in the fourth last night. What I got to see throughout the game even, and nothing was called. I try to be objective as possible. The RJ call, I will say that was I can understand how that could have went either way, except for the flopping of Anthony Davis. I thought they call flopping now this year. They're supposed to. And that's what I saw last night. As I said, Anthony Davis ran into RJ Barrett like he was Ronnie Coleman last night. And he's not. So reference just gotta be better. Just make it more consistent. That's it.
All right. Thank you for your input, Coach. Oh, boy. Glad we got that off our chest, but we still probably won't. Find us on Twitter. We'll probably still be going off. All right. So, Coach, thank you again for joining us. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for spending your time with us. And like, maybe this could have been a little bit therapeutic for you. I don't know what you got to do to feel a little bit better. But yeah, bottom line is it did suck. So what a way to start the fifth year for To The Point. So on behalf of myself, Coach Tim Roache, all the way from the East Coast, my man, and myself, and Arturas, you guys go down there, check it out, leave some comments, let us know what you think. And on behalf of all of us, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and